Welcome back to the Michigan Sports Media Network, your home for Michigan sports. And today I have our Tigers reporter, Brad Thompson, and our Red Wings reporter, James Gullett, joining me on the show, as always. With that being said, we're going to start with some Tigers stuff because it seems like we haven't started with the Tigers in a while. And, spring training is going to end pretty quick. So with that being said, Brad, I'll pass it over to you.
All right, fellas, good to see you again. It feels like it's been a bit. So let's just get right into it. Huge concern of mine, third base. What the hell are they doing right now? What the hell do they plan to do? Right now, if you see my Tiger predictions, and I don't see any other way about it. Obviously I've done my homework with other writers and beat writers and guys in the know, and they look like they're going with Zach McKinstry and Andy Ibanez. Okay, platoon. I feel comfortable in saying this. If I went on anybody's podcast, I feel comfortable to say this. This would be the worst tandem at third base in baseball, and it wouldn't even be close. Okay, now we're talking about third base is something of power. It's the hot corner. You have to play defense. Okay, I want to break down a couple numbers for you guys here. All right, and just have you just think about what is going on here. Okay, Zach McKinstry. All right. He's played in 387 games in his career. He's got 25 home runs overall. Okay? That's what third baseman average. Okay? This is a whole career. All right? Average in a season, by the way. He's got 287 strikeouts. He's got 94 walks. That goes exactly against what Harris and Hinch are preaching. Okay? He's got a 220 overall batting average. And he's got a 285 OBP. And we talked about how Baez has got a 262, and that's second worst in Tigers history. But wait, there's more. We go to Andy Ibanez. He's got 329 games, less than McKinstry, under his belt. He's only got 24 home runs, 27 RBIs. He hit 256 for a career. Woohoo! OBP of 305. 188 Ks to 63 walks. Okay. I mean, if that's not eye-opening, if that doesn't sound a nuclear bomb alarm, I don't know what it is. Oh, and by the way, they can't really field either. All right, because they are platoon players. Gentlemen, that's like somebody saying, okay, our left tackle, all right, or right tackle went down, and he's pretty damn good, okay? But we got this guy that's played up and down the line, but he's a second stringer, okay? It's only the third week of the season, or you know what? This happened in training camp. Let's start the year, and let's put this guy at left tackle when we're playing for when we're contending for a playoff spot. That's exactly what it is, and it's if they go in with it, then all bets are off. All right, if they stay with it, all bets are off on what I did with my predictions. All I can think of is this. Okay, you've got Nolan Arenado out there. Okay, Colorado's paying his contract. St. Louis will pick up part of his contract. That'd be the deal. Give him Jace Young. Okay, that's a top 10 prospect who basically we're not going to need here because you got Arenado, you've got Torres, McGonagall's coming up to play there long term. It's the perfect fit. Okay, let's look at that real quick too. Meadows, I am not hearing any timetable, and when you don't hear any timetable, to me at least that's a problem. Okay, if he goes out there and if he's not ready at all, he's not ready to say August or at all, Toronto's going to have a fire sale. Okay, they're just not going to do anything in the AL East. They're having a fire sale. Their outfielder, all right, Dalton Varsho, he is the best center fielder in baseball defensively. Parker Meadows, I would say, a second. Varsho's got a 1-year deal. It's going to be a fire sale. You want to do it, pull the trigger or take a step back. They made a magical run. No team's ever going to do that again, or unlikely to. Take that step back, keep your youngsters, and go with that. But guys, right now, I wish I had better news for you. I'm going to keep them in my predictions as winning the Central. I reserve the right to change it at the All-Star break. That's all I've got.
Yeah, and that's a good point, Brad. Thanks for that information on the Tigers. With that being said, I will go ahead and pass it over to James for our Red Wings update.
Hey, hey, Hockey Town. Wish I was coming to you with better news, but as you have grown accustomed to, there isn't any. They fell to the Vegas Golden Knights their last game 6-3. They play Utah tonight, which I do not think they're going to win. Uh, in the last game against the Vegas Golden Knights, they sat Peter Mrazek. They did not want to play him a fifth game straight, which I understand. They put in Talbot. Maybe he's cold because he sat a whole bunch, but he let in 5 goals, and it just they just don't look good. There's um, no way around it. I don't really want to even do a whole like game breakdown because there's nothing to really report on it. That was good news, and I mean anyone who's watched the game already knows what happened. And if you did not watch the game, congratulations, good job. You did not waste a couple hours of your life. Uh, what this does to the playoff race, and in addition to us not being able to win to earn our own points, there are two teams in the group of 8 that have far and exceeded their expectations and are red hot right now. The Ottawa Senators, who we do play this Thursday, is a game I will be in attendance for, so I will not be on our next podcast to talk about the Wings because I will be at the game. But hopefully that brings them some good luck. But Ottawa right now, their last 10 games is 7-2-1. And for those who don't know, the third number in the record is overtime losses because you get 1 point if you lose in overtime and then 2 points for any wins. Ottawa is 7-2-1, so they have gained points in 8 of their last 10 games played. Montreal, who is the second wild card right now, their last 10 games is 5-1-4, so they have earned points in 9 of their last 10 games played. As you guys know where I'm going with this, Detroit, their last 10 games is 2-8, only getting points in 2 of their last 10 games. So even if we magically pull our head out of our ass, the other teams above us have to cool off. We don't hold tiebreakers, so we have to flat beat them. We are 5 points behind in the wild card right now, technically 6 because we don't hold the tiebreakers. There is mathematically still a chance. There's 13 games left, but we would have to win 3, and those both teams would have to lose 3, and then it's a fair shootout from there. But as I just went past with our last 10, mathematically, I believe the chances were 4.6% that the Lynx make it this year. And that's just obviously not good. Um, I at this point I can even fairly say it doesn't even matter about the 13 games left because the way we are playing right now, you could have 30 games left. It's not going to make a difference. We're not winning. These other teams are hot. We're cold. We're not catching them. We would be closer to making the playoffs, in my opinion, if the season ended today than 13 games from now. I feel like we're just going to get further and further behind. Um, with that being said, the only other thing I wanted to touch up on is potentially finishing year 6 for the Steve Yzerman reign. Uh, we on this podcast have had to talk multiple times about potentially needing a replacement at our GM position. I, today on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, am still getting a bunch of hate for that. But one thing I would like to point out in terms of other GMs in this town, because we are obviously a passionate sports town, I'm going to go from most recently hired to the furthest slash longest tenured GM of our 4 major sports real quick. The Pistons signed Langen as the president of basketball operations just this year. This was his first season in that role as the Pistons. And we are not officially in the playoffs yet, but it is as much of a lock as you can get. I think the last time I saw it, it was 98%. Like, we're just fighting over seeding, but it's going to happen. His very first year in office, after back-to-back terrible seasons, it's not like he came in and this team was built and he just had to write 1 or 2 things. we had a 14-win season and a 17-win season, or vice versa, maybe 17 then 14. But we were terrible. Turned around first year on the job. The second most recent is Tigers signing Harris in 2022. He made the playoffs last year and even made it to the second round of the playoffs. So not only did we just make it in, we went to round two. And he was hired in just 2 years ago. Lions signed Brad Holmes in 2021. I will try to keep this part short because his accolades speak for themselves. But he took over a bad team. He took over some bad contracts. And in a short amount of time, 3 years later, we went 15-2, making not only, obviously good, but breaking a franchise record for regular season wins in year three. In year two, he won two playoff games, which had not happened since 1991, the year I was born. So in 2 years, this guy turns around a absolutely decrepit franchise, and he's on his second contract now. But he was hired in 2021. Steve Yzerman for your Red Wings was hired on April 19th, 2019. The longest tenured GM in Detroit sports currently. No playoffs. No appearances. No wins. What are we doing here, guys? Like, all these other guys have had, and I get it, different sports have different timelines and all that, but literally three of the four success, and the only one that's not is the one who's been here the longest. And I'll end my rant on what I said on one of the prior podcasts. If his name wasn't Steve Yzerman and it was Steve Smith, you would have been gone 3 years ago. And I'll send it back to you guys.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, James. I can't disagree with really anything that you said. If you're watching this, it's because you love sports. If you love sports, why not show that love with some new gear, like the two jerseys behind me? Fanatics has a lot of stuff on sale right now, and if you go down in the description, click the link of whatever team that you want. It'll take you to the Fanatics page, buy some stuff, and we get a small portion. It'll help us out, and you'll get some discounts on some good gear. But with that being said, I will pass it over to you, Brad, and you can have the floor to talk about how badly I'm sure you want Yzerman gone.
Well, I'm not gonna. I mean, I'm gonna kill him with some numbers. I'm not gonna kill him with my opinions today. And I apologize about the sound there. It was just clicking the pen. My apologies. Just trying to keep my blood from boiling. Anyways, I'm just gonna break down some numbers for you. And James, he broke it down with the general manager. So he's been here 6 years. His overall, he started off at 32 40 and 10. Sorry, Stevie, not going to buy that one because that was Ken Holland's team. Okay. So 32 40 and 10. Okay. All right. That's a great record if you want to hear what's coming down the pipe here, boys. Next year, 749 and 5. Year after that, 19 27 and 10, COVID year. Year after that, 32 40 and 10. Year after that, 35 37 and 10. Last year, 41 32 and 9, one game away from the playoffs. Here's the problem, gentlemen. This year's going to be worse. Okay? Adding up the numbers, 176, 225, and 54. Okay? Let me say that again to you. 176, 225, 54. Okay? That is 49 games under 500. And by the way they're playing, it's going to be over 50 games over 500 in a span of 7 years. Oh, a span of 6 years. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to scream. It doesn't make a difference. It's not going to happen. He's not going to be fired this year. I doubt he's going to be fired next year. Boy, but I'll tell you, if you want it like that, then you'll be the greatest fans in the world because the Lions, the Tigers, and the Pistons are moving on, and you're going to be obscure. Okay, this is, James, you should call it not hey, hey, hockey town, ha, ha, hockey town. okay, because that's what it's turned into. All right, I mean, I'm going to be a little blasphemous here and say, you know what, but they haven't won anything, so it'd be tough, but Toronto's a hockey town. Okay, Toronto's a hockey town. And, I want to say, well, people say, well, it's Canada. No, well, you know what? They got the Blue Jays. They've got the Raptors. Okay, so it's a hockey town. Boston's a better hockey town. St. Louis is a better hockey town. Los Angeles, believe it or not, and I'm not being funny, is a better hockey town. Okay, so that's just a name, whatever. Yzerman he did great at Tampa. He's not a good GM here. Sometimes it's not a good fit. He should be fired. He should be fired at the end of the season. It's not going to happen, so why get upset? And James, I do have a question for you. Who's ready to play next year? I keep hearing about this vaunted farm system. Could you please give me at least one? I'd love you to give him to give me multiple, but could you at least give me one or two guys who's ready to come in from this vaunted, minor league system and make a considerable contribution this year? Because right now there's no goalie, there's two defensemen, there's 1.5 lines. Let me know who's coming up through the pike, because unless this man decides to make a drastic change, which does have to be made, whether if it works or not, you want to keep going along with this, but you need a goalie. You need 3 more defensemen. You need 3 more forwards. So please tell me who they have and what do they have?
They have absolutely nothing coming up. No, I'm just kidding. They actually have, sorry about the heart attack. They actually have, and I will say, for as much as I crap on Steve Yzerman because he has not done trades, he did nothing at the trade deadline other than sign a first ballot Hall of Famer and Patrick Kane. He's done nothing in free agency. I'm not going to really give him credit that congratulations on signing a Hall of Famer who, yeah, he turned out pretty good, but that's why he's a Hall of Famer. However, his saving grace, and I think the only reason he has any kind of leash left other than his name, is he has been drafting fairly well. I was going to make a comparison in my section about how Yzerman is kind of, I don't quite want to say on Brad Holmes level, but he's kind of like a Brad Holmes drafter and then like a Steve Van Gundy trade and free agent guy. And he's just such a weird combination. But to make it shorter, I don't know who's ready yet. There's plenty of names to at least talk about, and there is reason to have hope with the current core of prospects. But I just don't know if next year they're ready to come up and be the next Sider or Raymond. The names I would keep an eye on, since you put me on the spot with that, I would say Daniels, who is our first round pick from last year. He had a short stint in the playoffs with the Grand Rapids Griffins last year, and he did not do too much with his first AHL action. Then he's had a pretty good year this year, but is he NHL ready? I honestly don't know. I was a little surprised that we didn't give him a shot with the current injuries that the Wings are dealing with. I figured they'd just call one of the kids up, see what you got. It's not like we're per se playing to win right now. I mean, I know we technically are, but they don't look it when you watch them. And then where I think he excelled the most and set us up for the future is with the goalies. I don't think the Wings have a goalie on their roster right now that's more than average, but we have 2 very plus goalies in our farm system. However, for those that don't know, goalies tend to take longer to develop than other players. A forward or defenseman like Mo Sider or Raymond, you see in a year or two, and they come in here. Sider was Rookie of the Year. The only reason Raymond pretty much didn't win is because he was in the same year technically as his rookie status, even though they are 2 different draft classes. But we have a goalie for Michigan State. He currently plays for Michigan State, Augustine, and he just won the Big Ten. So congratulations to them. And then Casa, however you want to say it. I've seen it pronounced both ways. The young Russian goalie, I believe he's like 6'8" or something, 6'7", something like that. Huge dude. He got called up when we were having some goalie injuries earlier in the season, and in my opinion, looked fairly well. He did not look out of place. He did not start a game, but when I believe it was when we still had Valley Uso, he let in 3 or 4 in the first 2 periods, so they gave Casa the third, and he ended up stopping everything that went his way, and we came back and won that game. But then we got healthy and we sent them back down. So I don't know why we don't keep some of these guys up. There is a fairly good, and I know with your Tigers insight, we do have a good farm system for the wings. So I will give Eisner credit there. But whether it's next year, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, who knows when these guys are going to come up. But we're obviously hoping that these guys will be our, uh, our Clarks and our, guys that help us turn this around, not just our Torkelsons or Mises that come up here and don't figure it out as fast as we hope they do.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, James. And kind of to your point, Brad, I look, man, Detroit isn't Hockey Town anymore. I mean, whether it be the Red Wings are bad or the Lions are good, but man, this is a football town. Like, I'll tell you right now, most of these people stopped giving a shit about the Red Wings 5 years ago. You know what I mean? That's what it seems like to me. It seems like a lot of these fans have gotten used to what Brad just brought up in terms of Iserman's woes in terms of making the playoffs and things that uh, it feels to me kind of like how the Lions felt with Matt Patricia, in that same sense of like we maybe not Matt Patricia, maybe Jim Caldwell. Like, we should be better than what we are. If only we added some more guys. But it seems like we'll never get over that hump. And unfortunately for Red Wings fans, that hump is just making the playoffs. At least the Lions did it, 2 or 3 times during that process. But with that being said, we will move on now to Pistons basketball, to kind of change it up a little bit here. Not too much, excuse me, not too much to talk about today necessarily, but there is a little bit of stuff to cover. So obviously the last game versus the Pelicans, the Pistons came out with a win without Cade. He was not a healthy scratch. He was a last minute scratch. Nobody really knew he was injured, and then he just was held out of the game due to a calf injury. But with that being said, Ron Holland stepped up in his place. He had 26 points, 6 assists and 5 rebounds. He's and 0 turnovers. He's the first teenager in the NBA to have 25, 5 and 5 with no turnovers. Crazy. Now, with that being said, a lot of people hated on the Ron Holland pick when it happened. A lot of people were confused, thought he was overdrafted, da. Now, I feel like Holland is a solid, or was a solid prospect, but I don't know if I really saw this coming at the same time. So with that being said, it's really nice to see Holland as a rookie putting up some really, really great numbers, especially in a game where Cade wasn't available. Seemed like he kind of took over a little bit for us. And then Jalen Duren also stepped up in his absence with 22 points, 2 assists, and 12 rebounds. Marcus Sasser had 20 points off the bench. So a lot of positive happened in this game. The only real negative, obviously, is the Cade injury and Asar Thompson. It seems like people are getting a little cold on Asar Thompson right now. It feels like Brad, we just had this conversation a couple weeks ago about Devin Booker and the trade, right? And everybody, all 3 of us were like, I don't really want to put Asar Thompson in that deal. I'd really like to keep him over really anybody else. Right now, there are people on Twitter saying, what's Asar Thompson's trade value? And it's like, buddy, the trade deadline's passed. We're going to the playoffs, and you're talking about fucking trade value. And that's the problem I have right now with people that watch basketball, like, quote unquote. I'm not gonna call myself a diehard NBA fan. I definitely do not watch every game. I don't watch most games, if I'm being honest with you. But these people, they see one game and they go, oh my gosh, Asar Thompson, he had whatever, let's just call it 20 points and 5 rebounds and 7 assists and 3 blocks and a steal. Oh, he's Kawhi Leonard. He's Kawhi Leonard reincarnate. And then he doesn't play well for a couple games, and people are like, "Get this fucker out of town. I don't know what to do with him anymore. He's just not a good shot. He doesn't defend well." But it's like 2 weeks ago, buddy, you were saying he's the best defender in the fucking league. So pick one. Like I don't get that. Like, and I think they're wrong in both ways, right? I don't think he's the best defender in the league, but I also don't think we should be talking about him as just some trade piece because like this kid is a legit insane athlete. He can defend as well as anybody. He's got great length, great height. He's got all the intangibles that you want. Right now, in my opinion, his two biggest problems really, his jump shot and his pace, right? His problem is he is going like 120% at all times, right? And I have the same problem when I'm playing basketball. You blow by somebody and you just sprint, you go to lay it up and the damn ball just dong off the backboard because you threw that bitch up too hard because you're going too fast. That's what it feels like Asar Thompson does way too often on both sides of the ball. And I feel like once he gets those two things, man, this kid is going to be a force in the league. I really do believe. Obviously, everybody says Kawhi Leonard, but I don't know, man. I feel like we've never really seen something like Asar if he can shoot. If he got a jump shot, we're talking like it's so hard to even say because there's no player that stylistically and athletically and skill set wise are like Asar as far as I can think off the top of my head. So that's just something to kind of think about there. I feel like people are, a little bullish right now on Thompson, and especially because Ron Holland just had this great game. I saw someone who is very big in the Pistons community tweet today that Ron Holland is the second best Piston. What the fuck? Are we just saying shit now? I love Ron Holland, but the kid had one good game where the rest of the season he shot 20% from 3-point. That's all. That's all I'm saying. It just seems a little wild here. So with that being said, I'll pass it over to you, Brad, and you can have the floor on any of the things I just covered.
Yeah, I don't give any wind or don't put any energy into trading Asar Thompson. Now, I'll be honest. I mean, we had that talk a month and a half ago, and I appreciate you for having me take a closer look at this and watch a little closer to the games and look at the stats and things. And this guy, what are you nuts? Don't trade this guy. Okay, there's untouchables on this team. All right, Cade, of course, Jalen, of course. Asar, of course. Okay, those three are not untouched, but I don't care if you want Devin Booker. I thought it was intriguing. You keep those three. Look what we're doing with them. We're having the greatest turnaround in NBA history. Okay, Holland yesterday. Did you see that coast to coast? I mean, it might have been Swiss cheese on New Orleans, and they're playing out the string, but it doesn't matter. Okay, few can do that, and when you're dropping 26, 6, and 5, you're still a teenager. I mean, keep them. Obviously, if there's a dude out there, okay. Well, you gotta give something to get something. It's the price of the cost of doing business, but it better be a damn good package. Uh, with anything else, I really don't have anything more to say. I hope I don't want to get back to this, but I hope Chase that you're not offended by. I wasn't giving you the sour milk looks. It's just James came across the board with some unbelievably bad news. And maybe if you want to talk about it, we could talk about it, or else I could go on with the breaking news thing. But yikes. So
hit him with the news, Brad.
Well, I want to give credit to James Gullett, first of all. Okay, this goes all the credit to James Gullett. Thank you, James. I appreciate you. Parker Meadows is out. He's put on the 60-day IL, folks. That is almost a death curse. When you're on the 60, I'm afraid that he's going to be out for the whole year. Okay, so you have just ripped the guts out of your defense. Okay, this is the equivalent of losing Aiden Hutchinson. Okay, it just is. Defensively, it's the equivalent of losing Hutch. He was the second best defensive outfielder. If you want to take a step back this year, fine. I completely understand must be something about cats in this city because Lions are down, Tigers are down. All right. If you want to play for the year, go after Varsho. Toronto's not going to give him up right now. I don't know what to say. This is a gut shot for me. This is the Lions 2.0, guys. This is the Lions 2.0. I, I, I don't know. But the information's out there, and Wade pours some more salt. His replacement in center field, Wensil Perez, is going to be out with a back, and Pax asked Larry Bird. They could be out for more than that. When you hear getting injections, it's not good. Riley Green's going to start as center field for the Tigers when you're taking out your Robbie Peter to pay Paul because he's the best defensive left fielder in the game. I don't know. Put Javi out there. It's not even a joke. Let's see what happens. He's a hell of a defensive. You can make the switch from shortstop to center field, and let's see what happens. But that's all I got. That's all.
Yeah, that's some rough news there for our Tigers fans. Of course, losing a player like that for, like you said, might be the whole season is a big blow, especially when the Tigers just came off the season they had last year, and it seemed like they were going to be a little bit better even with, some of the additions that they made. So yeah, that's definitely a tough blow. James, you got anything to add to that?
No, I just don't shoot the messenger. As Jace was going with the Pistons, I was just glancing at X and saw the news 5 minutes ago, so I figured I'd just tag you in it. But I mean, as Brad said, he is a focal point, the focal point maybe of the entire defense. And I don't think we're losing too much with his bat, although a lot of speed on the base pass. But that is such a big blow, as Brad said. I mean, I hate to just echo him, but it is what it is. So in terms of my thoughts on it, it sucks. So
Yeah, and that's valid. I mean, there's really not too much else to say about something like that. But with that being said, back to the Pistons, just for the last thing. Hate to hit you with some more bad news, but nothing crazy. Nothing crazy, all right? All right, you can untilt the hat, Brad. It's nothing too crazy, all right? That's how you know shit's getting hit in the fan on here is when Brad's hat goes sideways. No, but so the one other thing I was gonna say about the Pistons game against the Pelicans is, man, we need to figure out how to defend the fucking perimeter, man. Like, it seems like it doesn't matter who we play, we're giving up 40. Like, a guard is getting 40 on us, and Jaden Ivey coming back ain't gonna help that. He just isn't. I mean, maybe we need to, use a Sore as our premium, ball stopper, but I don't know. And obviously CJ McCollum having 40 points and then Jordan Hawkins off the bench having 26. Not great, man. And obviously Cade was out, so maybe he helps a little bit with that, but I just don't love it. And then Ivy coming back, I really do not want to see the Knicks or the Bucks in the playoffs right now because Dame's going to drop 40 and then Giannis is going to have 40 and 20 because nobody we have is stopping him. Jalen Duren's going to have the best chance and he's still got 2 inches less than Giannis does in terms of height. So doesn't look great. And then the last thing I will say, and I know everyone is going to disagree with me when I say this because the season Cade is having. Both of you guys are going to disagree with me. Everyone listening is going to disagree with me. I still need more from Cade. I do. Call me crazy. He's inefficient. He just is. He can't shoot the 3-ball. His 3-pointer is below average. It just is. He's got a couple good games where he hits 3 out of 4, 3 out of 5, but most games he's 0 for 7, 1 for 7. Like, that isn't sustainable. And when we're talking about a team like the Pistons right now, a lot of Pistons fans seem to think we're going to go pretty far in the playoffs. I don't see it. I don't see us going past the first round. Cade needs to get more efficient. We need a better, perimeter defender outside of just a Sore. We need some more help on the interior in terms of scoring. I know Duren does a pretty good job, but we're not getting a 10 and 10 consistently from Stewart. So that's something just to kind of think about as playoffs come around. I feel Cade, needs to step up a little bit in terms of his efficiency and his scoring and his shooting the long ball. And then obviously next offseason, regardless of if we trade for a Devin Booker, we need some more defensive help on the perimeter and a little bit more scoring inside. So with that being said, I'll pass it over to you, Brad. Seemed like you got something here.
No, real quick. Ashley, I agree with you. It's not going to come this year, so don't expect it to. This is something where his game, he doesn't have the perfect game. This is something, he's still young. Remember how young he is, all right? This will come with time. This will come with him being in the gym in the offseason, shooting 1,000 threes a day. So his game is going to come. It's going to be there. It's not there yet at all, okay? I'm not comparing him to LeBron, but LeBron had a hell of a lot of work on his perimeter game. He really did, and he found it, okay? I can't name many others off the top of my head, but I think, there's a lot of superstars out there that at first, throughout the years, at first had to work on the perimeter jumper. So it's not going to happen this year. I couldn't agree with you more, actually. So that might surprise you. But it's just, it's a microwave society we live in now. I've talked about that on my podcast. But he'll get there. He'll get there. So it's just a building block. That's all.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And I mean, as you say, you can't think of someone that, didn't have a shot right away. We've talked about him a few times on this pod. Kawhi. I mean, Kawhi took a few years even to get efficient. And another guy we just talked about, SGA. I mean, SGA took a few years, and I love him. I saw it when I saw him play live in 2021 against the Pistons. I knew what he was going to become, but he wasn't there yet. I mean, I think he had 32 points or something like that with a mixture of rebounds, assists, and pretty good play defensively, but you didn't see who he is today. Like, when you see SGA play, it looks a lot like Kobe, man. It just does. Back then, it was more of your, above average player. So I totally get that, and I totally agree that Cade should take that next step, and he'll only just keep getting better, too. So, with that being said, James, did you have anything to add?
I actually did want to add a little bit on this just because Brad's kind of stole my thunder a little bit. I was going to say I also agree with you. So as much as going out on an island tends to be my thing, I think you missed with this one, at least in terms of being on an island. He's obviously the best player and all that, but I just pulled up his numbers real quick. And from his rookie season to now, and obviously he's still got room to grow, but from his rookie season to now, he's up 8 points a game, a half a rebound a game, 4 assists a game, and his 3 point percentage was 31 and is now 35. So he's improved upon himself pretty much every year, except the year he got hurt with only the 12 games played. And I still agree that he can do more, but I think he also will do more. So I want him to take that next step up, but all of the writing seems to be on the wall, and it seems to be that he's going to. It's just he's got to get there with his development.
Yeah, for sure, and I totally agree with that too. And that's a good point about the fact that he kind of needs to develop a little bit more, because it also will help once we have another guy, like once we have another stud on this team. Because I mean, I don't know how much Pistons games you guys watch. I don't watch a ton because most of them aren't on national TV, and you can't really get them if they're not on national TV. But seems to me what happens is the defense is stop Cade. Stop Cade. Pretty much all we need to worry about is Cade. Make those other guys hit the shots. Like Malik Beasley. Make him score 30, but we ain't letting Cade get more than 25. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to win or lose it by Cade. You want to win or lose by the rest of the guys. And then once we get a guy like Ivy or a Devin Booker that he can pass it out to in the corner, I think we'll be way, way better off. So, very good points. Great discussion on the Pistons, guys. Usually we don't get these great discussions on the Pistons, so I'm really, really glad we got that today. But with that being said, we're going to move on to a different basketball topic really quickly. Michigan State are advancing to the Sweet 16, baby. Let's go. And there's a chance they play each other in the Elite Eight. Now, if they both win, I don't know about that. We'll see. If you want to see our predictions and all that, go ahead and check out our other show, BT's Ballers, which is located on our YouTube channel as well. All you got to do is click the playlist, BT's Ballers, and you'll have our episodes, in chronological order. So go check those out if you want a more in-depth analysis of not just Michigan State, the whole shebang. So that's kind of our home for March Madness right now. So go ahead and check that out. But with that being said, I personally don't know if either team wins this next round. It's going to be really rough for both teams, especially Michigan. I think MSU has a little bit better chance, but Michigan going up against Auburn, which is probably the second, maybe third best team of college basketball in entirety. And a lot of people would say they were first. So I'm still picking Duke over him personally, but I think Auburn has a argument there. But with that being said, Michigan State and Michigan, like I said, are moving on to the Sweet 16. Thank God, March Madness is back in Michigan. But with that being said, that's all we got for March Madness today. We're just going to move on, keep it rolling, so you guys can go check out that pod. But wait till the end. Don't click off this video. Watch this one. Then go back and watch that one. Appreciate you. But with that being said, now we'll move on to the Lions. And deep breath. Nothing is happening. I mean, not a damn thing's going on, basically. I mean, we've done a couple, depth signings. Obviously, we signed, Avonte Maddox since we last saw you guys. We talked about the Rock Ya-Sin addition already. Avonte Maddox is very similar. I think he's better than Rock Ya-Sin, though. And I think he'll probably be above him on the depth chart. My question is, who's going to be our nickel? Because, this kind of makes it interesting. Because obviously we have Robertson. But I feel that, Maddox has a little bit more experience. He's a bit more, he's got that pedigree, he started almost, at the nickel spot, started almost every season he's been in the league. He was one of the best nickels in the league last year with the Eagles. And I know a lot of you guys remember him mostly for that PBU in the Super Bowl because that was a pretty nice one. But still, it's not that big of a deal in a lot of ways. Like, he's a depth piece. He probably won't play a lot. The only thing I can really see is a rotation. I think they're going to go more rotation on the cornerback in the quarterback room. Keep Arnold out there as much as you can. Keep Reed out there as much as you can. Outside of those two, it's going to be a revolving door, I think. Whatever the matchups are, whoever we're playing. I think this will keep Branch at safety for the foreseeable future. I mean, they might play some nickel, but now that we don't have Melifonwu, that takes a chess piece. So I think the idea is they're replacing Melifonwu with a corner and just keeping Branch up at that safety position. I do think, however, we will still probably add a safety at some point, whether it be free agency or the draft. If we draft one, obviously it'll be a little bit later. But we've completely redone our corner room outside of 3 guys. 4, technically, if you count Dorsey. But, I mean, he might not even make the team as of right now. But really, all we've got is Amik, Arnold, and Rakestraw from last year. Like, that's pretty much it. And I kind of like it. I like what they're doing there. I feel Brad, has a good idea of what he's trying to do with that DB room. The only thing I don't like is we ain't signed no damn pass rusher yet, man. And I'll tell you what, I'm starting to feel it a little bit. I don't know, man. Like, we cut Zadarius Smith, and it's been fucking crickets, dude. Like, we saved I think it was 11.4 or 11.7 million dollars. I think it was 11.4 million dollars by cutting him, and we aren't using it. I am very confused. Now, remember, last year Kevin Zeitler did not sign until the second week of free agency. So, my prayer is that Von Miller is the same thing. We're going to sign Von Miller, 1 year, $8 million. And if that happens, I will shut the fuck up. I'll stop talking about it and I'll move on. Because once we get Von Miller, I will feel so much better about this pass rush room. Because obviously we're going to draft a guy too. I mean, that's already, no matter what happens, we're going to do that. But we still need a rotational veteran who can bring production. And I know Von Miller's 36, man, but dude, he was productive last season. If you want to know more, go check out my article about that on misportsmedia.com, where I go in depth about his, grades, his film, and all that kind of stuff. But with that being said, just trust me right now, man to man, trust me. He's good. All right. I got this one. But with that being said, the only thing I can really think of right now is that we're going to switch our defense up a little bit, play a little bit less man, maybe go to a 3-4, which we've kind of talked about a little bit before, but Kelvin Shepherd coming in, I could see some changes being made there. So just kind of, think about it that way. There's some things we could do in the draft that might make us feel a little bit better. I mean, we know Brad Holmes likes to trade down, he likes to trade up, he likes to move around, he likes to do what he needs to do to get who he wants, right? There's a handful of guys that he wants or has wanted in the past that he did that for. Whether it be the first round or the second round or the third round or the fourth round or the fifth round, he's moving up all over the place, moving down. So, as I say this, I also am telling you to chill out a little bit. It's going to be okay. Trust in Brad. Like I said before, I'm reserving judgment until after the draft, where anything can happen. But with that being said, I will pass it over to you, Brad, and you can kick off this panel for us.
All right, thanks. Well, there's a lot to unpack here, of course, and great article, by the way, Jace. Tremendous article. Enjoyed reading it. Yeah, there's a book out there, and it's a great. It's not a self-help book, but it's just a great book. It helps you in your life, and it helps you in different things. And I'm not joking. It's really named this. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Okay, or sorry, The Subtle Art of Giving Zero Fucks, something to that effect. No fucks, zero fucks, fuck. All right, so it's a good book, guys, and you know what? It all comes down to the talk is awesome, and you know what? We make some great points, and I think we're right on almost goddamn everything. All right, but let's just face it, man. At the end of the day, Brad's gonna do Brad. Okay, and I think we trust in that, and I think it's proven well so far. So I'll leave that. As far as the defense goes, I think they are going to play more man. I think with Aaron Glenn being a cornerback himself, uh, I think you're going to. I'm not more man. I think they're going to play more zone. Excuse me. God damn, they couldn't play any more man. Okay, they literally couldn't. Okay, so they're going to play more zone. Shep's a linebacker. Glenn was the corner. He was a lockdown corner. You just tend to migrate. You just do that. You put more emphasis on the position that you played in. Trust me on that one. So they'll play more. They'll play more corner. Zone. So you got some pieces interchangeable there. I think that obviously they're going to add a corner. I think you can switch up with I think Maddox and Jesus, forgetting his name. Amik are gonna switch in and out. You got Branch there, as a in case of emergency. Like we said with the pass rusher, I think that you're gonna see. I don't think Campbell, quite honestly, is gonna say Yo Shep, because Glenn is Glenn. He's gonna say Yo Shep, take over the defense, switch it all over to a 3-4. I do, however, think now Shep's a linebacker, like we talked with Glenn about being a corner. I do think you're going to see multiple looks, though. I really do. And this is where it comes into play a little bit. You'll see a little 3-4, in my opinion. Okay, you will, because the pieces are there to do it. Let's keep in mind, Hutch just isn't an edge man. Hutch can drop back. Okay, so you're going to have different looks and things. And this is where, and Jace, I wanted to pose this question, but let me finish my point here. Is I think Shep is gonna. I think a good 3-4 is. Let's go up and get a Will Campbell. He's a Bama guy. He's a stud. He would be outstanding in a 3-4. He's a hybrid. He's cut a lot in the mold of a Hassan Reddick. I think he'll be better. But if he doesn't trade up for a Campbell, I personally think if there's an opportunity, because it is a deep draft at the positions they need, at interior offensive line, at defensive end. Boy, if there's a trading partner that wants to come up and take our spot at the end of the first, and we can get more capital, boy, I would welcome that with open arms. I'd do a dance if I hear that, to be honest with you. I really would. So with that, one name I want to throw out at you, because I know you want Von Miller. Shit, I want him too. Okay. Matthew Judon. Let's stay in the mode of, he played in Atlanta. Think of him as a second piece. He would not be the show. He was the show in Atlanta. Okay, he was the man. Think about that, and if we have that 3-4, he's also a hybrid. Something to throw out there. I wouldn't hate it. I'd like it. I wouldn't love it. It's just right now they're saying he's the best free agent out there overall. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But yeah, with that, that's all I got.
Yeah, and I'm really glad you brought up the point of Kelvin Shepherd being a linebacker because that's actually where I was going to go once you were done. Because I feel like exactly like you said, Aaron Glenn is a corner. He likes what he likes. He likes to fucking I'm gonna lock you down one on one, buddy. Good luck. You know that's what he's into. Whereas I think Shepard is a little bit more of like I ain't locking you down one on one, man to man, man. I know I can't. You're more athletic than I am, but what I can do is outsmart you, right? What I can do is throw shit at you to make you not know what the fuck's coming. What I can do is line up in different alignments and show you different things on every down, and it depends on what position or what formation you're in, right? And I think that is really you hit the nail on the head with that one, Brad. That versatility, man, is going to be the name of the game for our defense this year. And I really like the Jahad Campbell point because he's an Alabama player, he's a stud, and he's a guy that I don't know might slip out of the top 15. I could see it. I could see him going top 10 too. It's one of those things that like this draft is kind of all over the place with that kind of stuff. So you never really know what's going to happen here. I mean, there's guys who were talked about as top five locks that are now being mocked in the at pick 27. Kelvin Kelvin Banks being one of them. He was the best left tackle in the draft. Blah 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 blah. Just a couple months ago, now he's sliding almost out of the first round entirely. So that's just something to think about too. But with that being said, James, I'll pass it over to you. Floor is yours.
Fortunately and unfortunately, this is one of the pleasures and pains with working with the two of you. Between Brad and yourself, you have said everything I have written down to say. I was going to mention, I'm like, you need to tell me that we promoted our linebacker coach, Calvin Shepard, to be our defensive coordinator, and he wants more linebackers and is talking about potentially switching to a 3-4. The linebacker? No, of course the linebacker coach doesn't want more linebackers on the field. Go figure. In terms of, and I don't think it will be a hard switch. I think we'll have, um, and this is not any inside knowledge, no reports, just reading the tea leaves. We have versatility, which was mentioned, more than just the defensive backs. We talked about how who will play the nickel. There's about 4 or 5 players that have at least experience playing the nickel. We can mix and match. We have a mixture of veterans with Amik Robertson and now Maddox, with Reed coming in. We have young guys with Rakestraw and Arnold still developing as they're playing. Hopefully, Rakestraw can bounce back from his injury. Branch, obviously, he's played any position under the sun. He has lined up an outside corner. He's lined up at nickel. He's lined up at safety. So I'm not too worried because the talent is there. The coaching staff will figure out where to put them, whether that's man or zone or whatever. They're all great football players. The potential, because there's been no official report saying that we're switching to a 3-4, but that does make, in my opinion, the Lopez free agent signing a little bit more in the limelight because he is a true nose tackle. So he's not just like the defensive tackle that's going to line up on uh like across from McNeil or whatever. He's the guy that will anchor down the middle. And as you said, we've had Hutchinson in past. I don't know if he's truly lined up at linebacker. I know the one play he lined up next to the sidelines that got the interception off Fields. Who doesn't remember that play? But he has 4 career interceptions. He drops back from coverage. I know sometimes he lines up in his defensive end spot and then he falls back. They're just a versatile team. And there's just a lot you can do with that. So I don't know about a full-time switch or a base switch. I'll say it that way because obviously we'll mix in more. And then to mix on what Brad was saying earlier is yes, I for definitely 100% see us playing a lot more zone coverage and not as much man. And then the only other thing to just give you guys maybe a potential talking point or make the viewer at home think just a little bit on who could that depth safety be. And once again, no reports, no inside knowledge, just using my head. What about Vaki? When we drafted Vaki last year in the third round, I know they announced him as a running back, but he did play I got the number here. 26 games at a safety position for Utah. So he is no stranger to the position. He was kind of the I don't exactly want to say Hunter because he's receiver corner, but he's running back safety. He is no stranger to defense at all. And there's been nothing that says he will play defense, but I almost wonder whether versatility, need, necessity, or just want, if they will trot him out there and just see what he can do.
Yeah, and that's a really good point about Vaki. Honestly, I didn't even think about that, but now that you bring it up, it would make that pick make so much more sense if they thought about it that far down the road, you know. But one thing I will say, I'm going to bring my O-line coach brain into this right now, okay? So a lot of people, they think 4-3-3-4. Simple, right? There's 3 linemen, 4 linebackers versus 4 linemen, 3 linebackers, right? That's what you would think, right? I mean, it is, but there's a 4-3 over. There's the 4-3 under. There's the 3-4 over. There's the 3-4. So there's all these, there's the bear front. There's all these different fronts you can come out in. What really makes the defense is the kind of roles in the way that you run your defense. So like the 4-3 generally, right? Okay, generally, it's always different with everybody, but generally the idea is your D linemen attack, your linebackers clean up, right? Whereas the opposite is true on the 3-4. Your D linemen clean up and your linebackers attack. So it's just some little stuff to think about there. Like, you know, a lot of people in your point with Lopez, I agree with that for the other reason, because I think he's best as a 1 to a 3 tech. I don't think he's really a true nose tackle. I mean, he's 6'2", 318. So he's not like, round mound of rebound or whatever the shit. You know what I'm saying? He's not just some fucking huge guy like Broderick Martin who's just going to clog up the middle. What he is, though, is perfect for an over or an under front, right? Because he can play that 1 tech, he can play that 3 tech, and I think those are his best spots. So, food for thought there. I say all this just to say that versatility is what this defense is going to be all about, I think, at the end of the day. That's why we're getting guys like Lopez. We're getting guys like Barnes, right? We run a 4-3, we need a Barnes. If you run a 3-4, you still need a Barnes. That's the thing. I think we're just all about versatility, all about trying to switch it up. But with that being said, Brad, do you have anything else to add?
Yeah, high praise. He's a Hall of Famer, but Hutch, I see Hutch. He's in the mold of J.J. Watt. I mean, J.J. Watt was a tight end in Wisconsin. Hutch was a tight end. A divine child. I know that's high school, college, but I mean, he can line up in the middle and rush that passer. He can line up right over a Lopez. He can line up right over a McNeil. But also, you talk about the 4-3, the 3-4s. I remember in the early Bill Cowher days, they with the defense they had a linebacker named Leon Searcy. Okay, and what they love to do, what Dom Capers loved to do when he was D coordinator with them, is you can you can send Barnes, all right, you can send Barnes, rushing off the edge, and you can drop Aiden into the flat. Okay, that's the kind of mix and match things that you're talking about that I think Shepard's going to do. Okay, and last to my point is, I think we all AG was an alpha dog. He's a strong personality. Okay, I think that he could actually walk into Campbell's office and say, "Fuck that. We're not fucking changing man to man, Dan. We're just not." And I think Dan would actually say, "You know what? That's fine. Okay, that's fine." I think Dan wanted to go not so much man to man. I really do. Uh, it's just if he, if Shepard can get his linebackers and he can put them all over like chess pieces, then boy, that's just fine. And then the last, my point is, yeah, we, AG, love him, all that stuff, windshield wipers. But remember now, gentlemen, he came under a hell of a lot of scrutiny sometimes too. He really did. And that was for his penchant of not wanting to adapt. Okay. We all, as a coach, we still have game in us. Jace, I guarantee you still think you got at least 4 or 5 games in you, don't you? Okay. My old ass thinks I still got one good game left in me. So we still got player in us, and that's what AG has. And I don't think it's ever going to leave him. So to make a long story short here is Dan's going to say, "Yo, Shep, we're doing something different this year." Okay. So as much as we loved AG had his flaws, and it cost us at times. Okay. I personally think it cost us in the final game, but that's just me. No need to go back on it. So that's just my last 2 cents.
Sorry, guys. 1 second. My dogs are going crazy.
That's okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, but in my rant, I forgot also about Hutch because we've played him in the past out of a 2 point stance, out of a 3 point stance. We've, like I
Yeah.
said, had him drop back. He's played inside. He's had some snaps at D tackle. So,
Right.
and
Yeah,
then
he's an athlete. He's an athlete.
and that kind of goes hand in hand with like you said. I know we've been on the linebacker from Bama Campbell camp for a while, but he's just an overall football player because he's that linebacker edge kind of. If we are switching to a 3-4 defense, he is the player that we would have to go get no matter what.
Well, I think Brad just goes and gets football players. I mean, he went and got the best football. I still say it. I'll argue with anybody. He got the best football player in the NFL in Penei Sewell. He did. I just think I just do. I could see Matt. Oh, Penei Sewell. Brett Favre. Penei Sewell. Stuff like that. I mean, he would be in love with Penei Sewell. But anyways, I digress. He gets football players, and we say he might not go safety in first round. Malachi Starks is there. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't want to go off on a tangent. We'll talk to that, but I wouldn't be surprised if he took him. He's taking football players. That's all he takes. He takes the best football player he can get. So,
Yeah, and that's a really good point, Brad. With that being said, that's all we have for this show. However, some announcements to make on part of the show. So I'm sure you guys have noticed we went down to less shows per week. And that's just going to be the norm going forward. 2 shows a week, Tuesday, Friday. Be on the lookout. We'll drop in the morning. And then another announcement is we will be live for the draft. Not the whole draft, but some of it. And it's going to be fun. So hopefully, as of right now, we will be live for the first round and the second round on both Twitter and YouTube. So we're going to have to work out some logistics on that. But just stay tuned. Keep your eyes peeled. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys for watching. As always, we have Brad Thompson at BT8Ball, James Gullett at Gullett_James, and myself, Jace Sweet at Jace O Sweet. And you can find us all at MI Sports Media and at misportsmedia.com, where we will post all of our articles to keep you guys up to date. With that being said, we'll see you on the next one.